Last week, we warped our looms. We put the strands of yarn on our looms that we are currently weaving on. We are using our weft string, our weft, to weave with. And our weaving is a pattern. We talked about patterns in our paper weaving. We created a checkerboard pattern. We're doing the same thing with yarn. We're still keeping our pattern. There's just not going to be a visible checkerboard like the last time. So on this string, let's take a look. What direction did I go last? I went over the purple string, under the purple string, over, under, over, under, over, under. So what am I going to do next? Am I going to go under or over? We are going to go over because I want to do the opposite of the last row. So I'm going to go over, under, over, under, over, under. Now I'm starting to run out of yarn. I'm going to show you what to do when you run out of yarn. I think I've got enough to go across one more time with a little bit extra. Now you want to have a little bit extra left. So the last row ended with under. So now what am I going to do? Am I going to go under or over? We're going to go over, right? So now I'm going to, and as I go over, that strand of yarn loops around that warp string. So I pull through. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle off. I can untie it or I can just cut it. And I'm just going to leave this loose and I'm going to show you what we'll do with it at the end when we're done. Now I'm going to choose a new string and don't forget to do the taco method. You take your taco, put your topping on your taco, then put your taco in your mouth. Pull it through, make your loop, make an X, take the tail yarn through the loop and tie it on. Now, I'm going to just start where I left off. I went under last, now I'm going to go over. And when I'm weaving, I'm going to leave a tail of yarn, just like I did on the last row. And I'm going to continue to weave. And as I continue to weave, that piece of yarn will lock and will stay there. It'll get woven in and it won't slide out. Now when you're weaving, you want to keep your strings loose because if you pull them tight, your rectangle is going to start looking like an hourglass shape. You want to make sure you keep that. You don't want to tug on these strings. And I'm going to keep weaving until I fill up my loom all the way down to the bottom. And next week we're going to talk about what we do when we are finished weaving. And think about your color choice as you're weaving. What are these colors? Do they represent something? Are you creating a pattern? You know, there are lots of different types of yarn. Some of them have different textures. You can think about that as you're working. Do you want to have more texture in your work? Think about how you can create a weaving that is personal to you. And again, I finished this row. I'm gonna take this loose, because that's pretty loose, I can untie it. And I'm gonna leave that yarn hanging there. And I'm gonna start a new row. So, and as you go, scrunch that up tight. It should look like a basket weave. You shouldn't see your warp strings. They should be inside your weaving.